So Gary, you and I both work as ministers in the difficult part of Cape Town known as the Cape Flats. The Cape Flats really came about because of apartheid.
Yes, that's right, and it's apartheid. The idea of being apart yet together, and that extended all the way to racial lines by way of color, and then also determined where you could or could not live generally in our country. So in Cape Town we have Table Mountain, our very famous mountain. Everything close to Table Mountain is considered prime property. So if you were not white, you were forcefully removed and put out onto the Cape Flats.
The Cape Flats is usually in the news for all the wrong reasons.
Yes, unfortunately, when we do make the news, which is regularly, it is usually because there's a gang war. So there's very high gang violence, substance abuse by way of drugs and alcohol. Domestic violence is very high. A lot of people are, very high unemployment rate, and there's deep poverty as well, which doesn't help. And the education system didn't help us either.
My experience of the Cape Flats has been that wherever I look, there are churches and mosques.
Yes, church, and that's an interesting concept, isn't it? Where churches and mosques almost live side by side. Well, you'll find roughly a third of the Cape Flats people who live there are actually Muslim. The church that I pastored out in Heiderveld, most of the congregation members have at least one member of their family who's Muslim. As they meet a guy or girl, they get married and then they convert. So to avoid family conflict, everyone just gets along and they actually start believing that, we all serve the same God anyway. And as for a church in every corner, that is true. But unfortunately, there's a lot of prosperity gospel with self-proclaimed pastors who have no formal theological training.
We're part of a denomination, Reach South Africa, and we have some churches on the Cape Flats.
Yes, we do. We have about 6 churches in total, trying to reach 2 million plus people. So you can understand, the task is quite great. So we need to make an impact in that community for the sake of the gospel.
What could we do then to impact 2.5 million people, touch their hearts with the gospel? How can we do that?
And that's the way we do want to touch their hearts. And the only way to do that really is by reaching them with the gospel. But to do that, we need workers. But to do that, we need to find them. And they are there. There's over 2 million people on the Cape Flats. So I think partly we want to be reaching our community with the gospel ourselves, finding those people, and then finding young men and women who are godly, who love Jesus, and who have a passion to see other people love Jesus. And then we want to invite them in, offer them an apprenticeship, a couple of years training at our churches in doing ministry so that we can get to know one another a little bit better. And if they are suitable, then send them off to be trained at George Whitfield College for a few years there. And then once they're done with their training, to bring them back to our churches in those local communities and deploy them there to start that cycle all over again. Find them, apprentice them, train them, and deploy them.
So if we can just sort of put it in a nutshell, we want to raise up apprentices, really train them well theologically at our Bible college, and then deploy them in churches, either in existing churches or church plants, and do ministry on the Cape Flats in a much more profound way than we've been doing it up till now.
Absolutely.
Amen. Thanks, Gary.